Hey, what's up, guys? Chris here, back with another Tea Talk. It's been a while since I did one of these, a couple months or so. But tonight I'm using a lapel mic. So I just want to shout out to my friend Andrew up near Syracuse who sent me this. So I'm testing it out tonight. So let's see if it improves any of the sound quality. But yeah, so tonight we are drinking another Tamaryokucha, and it's from Wakayama Prefecture, so to the south of Osaka. And it is called Doko Demo Soda #1. So Doko Demo Soda means anywhere sky or sky anywhere. So Doko Demo means anywhere, and Sora means like sky. Don't know what that means at all really, but that's what it translates to. And it is a Tamaryokucha. So remember, it must be a couple videos back now, but we talked about a Tamaryokucha. So it is like a regular sencha. It goes through the steaming process. But then it is, sort of rolled into balls. So that's what tama means. So tama is ball, and ryokocha is green tea. So like it's rolled into balls instead of being kneaded into a needle like, a normal sencha would be. And it is from Wakayama Prefecture. So Wakayama Prefecture is not a big tea producing area, at least to my knowledge. So a little bit about Wakayama. It is at the southern point of the Kii Peninsula. So the Kii Peninsula is the largest peninsula on Honshu, the main island of Japan. And the peninsula consists of sort of the southern part of Osaka Prefecture, the entirety of Wakayama Prefecture, Nara Prefecture, and Mie Prefecture. So actually, when you land in Osaka at Kansai International Airport, or KIX, or Kanku, whatever you want to call it, you're actually, it's a man-made island, but when you take the train back to, towards Osaka, you're traveling on the Kii Peninsula back into the city. And then, so the Kii Peninsula is actually very important in Japanese history. It has, it's the site of like the Kumano region, which is one of the holiest areas of Japan. So practitioners of Shugendo, or like Japanese ascetic practices. So Shugendo means the way of trial and practice. The way of trial and practice, and it sort of combines elements of Shinto, Buddhism, and sort of nature worship, mountain worship. And yeah, so people who practice Shugendo are called Yamabushi, or mountain prostrators. So they go out into the woods and climb mountains and do sort of, I guess, faux yoga not yoga, but sort of spiritual practices. And it brings them, meaning, brings them closer to, I guess, what we would call God in the West, but to nature in a Japanese sense, I guess. But yeah, so the Kumano region is known for the Kumano Kodo, which is a pilgrimage route visiting 3 major Shinto shrines in the area, and that route has been used, or has been traveled for over 1,000 years. So people go to do this pilgrimage or visit these shrines for healing, and also being a pilgrimage route, I'm sure it is for the mind as well, right? To clear the mind of any sort of problems. But yeah, so Shugendo is practiced in the area. There's the Kumano Kodo, but there's also Mount Koya or Koyasan, which I have visited several times. But that is another place for pilgrimage. So it was built by this monk Kukai in let me see, I have my notes here. So 819. So in the year 819, Kukai founded the first of what would become 120 temples on the mountain top. It's not actually one mountain, it's like a sort of range of I guess mountains that are very close to each other, but has now become sort of a town called Koyasan that consists of these, sort of 100, about 120 temples. And Kukai was this monk. He's the founder of Shingon Buddhism, which is an esoteric form of Buddhism. So it's not, meaning, I don't know too much about it actually, but there's sort of more actions involved, where it's sort of, if you think of Zen or something, like it's a lot of meditation, where I think in Shingon Buddhism, there's not a lot of meditation going on. There's other things that would sort of bring you enlightenment, such as like mantras and different ritual actions. But yeah, so he founded Shingon Buddhism, and he founded Koyasan, but he's also pretty famous for being sort of an itinerant monk. He would walk around different parts of Japan to these sort of remote areas and mountaintops and found temples. So I've been to several, so Koyasan, and also on Miyajima Island, so off the coast of Hiroshima. Miyajima is most known for having the Torii Gate in the water, and the temple that goes along, the Shinto shrine that goes along with the Torii Gate is on the coast of the island. But up on the mountain is a Buddhist temple that was also founded by Kukai. I've climbed a lot of mountains following this guy. He's also the founder of the Shikoku pilgrimage, the Ohenro, in which you visit 88 temples on the island of Shikoku. That's like the more famous pilgrimage for Kukai, or Kobodaishi, as he's known after his death. But yeah, so I did the pilgrimage to Koyasan in February of 2013. So this February part is kind of important. So as I tell the story, I'll get back to it. But so I'll just brew the tea a little bit here. So yes, when I was a student studying abroad at Kansai Gaida University in Osaka, a group of my classmates and friends decided to do the pilgrimage to Koyasan. So I had heard of this. I had heard of Kukai, and I had heard of Koyasan, and I sort of knew of the pilgrimage route, but I didn't know anything about it. So some other friends were planning it, and they told me it'll take about 8 hours, which to a New Yorker, I don't know what that means. Like I had never gone hiking before, so I was like, yeah, sure. It's a place I really want to go, so I'll do it. We took the Nankai line from Namba Station in Osaka to a town that is sort of at the base of Koyasan. I think it's like Gokurokuji or something station. I don't know what it was called. But anyway, so we get off the train at like 6 in the morning or something like that. It was way too early. But and we start out, start climbing, and we're getting a good pace. And we start seeing signs for like, oh, Koyasan 20 kilometers. I'm American, I'm from New York, like I deal in miles. I don't really know what kilometers are or how far 20 kilometers is, but we start seeing those signs and we're like, oh, are we making progress? Like, and at first, the first hour or two, we're like, oh, we could do this. It's not going to take us 8 hours to do this. Like, for only 20 kilometers away, we can bang this out. Boy, let me tell you. Let me suggest that you don't climb or go hiking in skateboard shoes in February in a rural part of Japan. You know why? Ice and snow. I didn't think about that. So, and that sort of, it wasn't too much of a factor, but it was sort of an unforeseen obstacle during my experience going to Koyasan. Anyway, so I think I'm climbing up one mountain, right? So I didn't read anything about this pilgrimage. I'm not prepared at all. I had very little water and maybe like a bento box I got from the convenience store, the kombini. It turns out it's like you have to climb through a mountain range in order to get to the mountain that you want to climb for Koyasan. So it was honestly one of the hardest, physical things I've ever done in my life. I was very out of shape despite, doing karate and stuff like that, but I'm not a hiker. I was not prepared for that. But, we got through it. It took us 9 hours to get to the top. And, honestly, like I was pretty dead at the end, and my friends sort of got me through it and got me up the mountain. And, I'm very thankful for them. And then we ended up staying at a Buddhist temple. So several of those 120 temples offer lodgings. So we stayed the night at a Buddhist temple, and they fed us, vegetarian food or shojin ryori, like temple, monk food, which is, kind of rare. Like, you would only eat it when you're at a temple or at a restaurant in Kyoto that specializes in that style of cuisine. So it was interesting, kind of lots of tofu. It was all right. I didn't eat much of it, to be honest. I was kind of too tired, and eating boiled tofu after a 9-hour day of climbing was not very appetizing. But, I ate as much as I could. And then the temple actually had onsen, or like hot springs, within it. So we got to take, of course it was like a communal bath or bathing area. And that was another thing, I was 21, and the sort of idea of climbing all day only to sort of get naked with your boys was not my idea of a treat at the end, but it was an interesting experience. And the hot springs definitely helped heal my legs and feet from climbing all day the previous that day. And the guys sort of made the most of it, right? We made jokes and shit. But yeah, so we stayed the night, and then we woke up at about 5 in the morning the next day to experience the fire ritual. So you write sort of an intention or something of a wish that you want to come true on like almost like a wooden tablet, and then they throw those tablets into a flame, and they perform this sort of Shingon Buddhist ritual, and hopefully that intention comes true. So that was very interesting. That was sort of meditative. You would sit in seiza or kneel down while that thing is happening, and it's 5 a.m. Everything is dark, and there's a flame, and it's sort of meditative, I guess. And then we spent the rest of the morning exploring the grounds of or the town of Koyasan. There's the main temple, and then we went to the Okunoin, which is the front of it is a cemetery. So lots of famous samurai and different people within Japanese history, and especially nowadays business history. So I guess like Sony or Toyota or something like that, companies like that would sponsor graves for their employees or for their directors, I guess. So there's a giant cemetery there, and then towards the back is this sort of, I think it's like a mausoleum. So according to legend, hold on, let me try this. Ooh. It's nice. It has it's a bit astringent, so I don't know if that is the the tea, or if I brewed it a little bit incorrectly, but it's definitely astringent, this one. But anyway, so you go back towards the mausoleum, and according to legend, Kukai or Kobodaishi never died. He entered a state of eternal meditation. So he's like buried in that mausoleum, and you sort of light a candle towards him, and you say an intention or a prayer. But there's also one area that was especially interesting to me. Was it's like a river that runs under, like in front of that mausoleum area, and people were doing like misogi, or like water training. So they would stand almost naked in this like freezing cold river, and they would splash water on themselves. It was almost like a spiritual cleansing ritual that is sort of performed in various areas of Japan, especially waterfalls and stuff like that. Even in karate and kyokushin, during those camps at Mount Mitsumine, there is a waterfall, and all the participants of the camp would usually walk down to the waterfall and sort of do sets of punches or something like that under the waterfall. And that practice is called misogi, and there was a guy who did that, who was doing that when we got there, and I thought that was pretty cool. Anyway, so that was my first trip to Koyasan, and actually, so that was 2013, and then I went back to teach English in 2015 in sort of the same area, and I got to meet up with one of the people I had gone on the original trip with, my friend Rosemary, who actually got me through the last part of that trek. Again on that mountain, and we sort of explored and had sort of some nostalgia moments up there, and it was good to see her. And she was I think teaching in China or something like that at the time, and she had brought some of her teacher friends to Japan, and we got to tell them the story of how we climbed 9 hours to visit this place. And I brought my friend, who is my coworker from my job, and it was a very good day. And I still had my little keychain of Koyasan. So it was this like little monk that they called Koyasan. So it's a play on words. Koyasan means like Mount Koya, but it's all, San is also an honorific in Japanese, so it's Mr. Koya. So you know, I still had it from the first time, and I brought it the second time, and I showed Rosemary, and she still had hers, and it was a very good day. But yes, so that was a lot of talking, but I hope you got something out of this video, and it was great to sort of share my experience in Wakayama Prefecture. Have a great night.